In 1425, the Carpathian Mountains were a landscape of extreme physical demands, defined by isolated valleys and a climate allowing no room for weakness. Vlad ruled this territory with a singular focus on expansion. Riding a black warhorse through the wreckage of rival villages, he spent years consolidating power and proving himself the most efficient commander in the region. But while his maps grew, Vlad watched the steady physical decline of his own body. Every graying hair and slowing reflex served as a reminder that the land he conquered would outlast the hands that claimed it. He viewed this biological reality as a strategic failure. By refusing to accept the natural expiration of a human life, he turned his political ambition into a search for a loophole, a way to outlive the very empire he had built. This search led him far beyond his borders, to a ruined black stone temple. It was here, hidden within the jungle, that he sought out a tantric who specialized in the prohibited mechanics of life and death. The tantric proposed a simple trade. He argued that a king's authority should be absolute, extending even over the laws of nature, and offered to use dark magic to remove Vlad's biological expiration date. A priestess named Manthra warned him that nature does not allow for such a vacuum. She argued that trading a mortal soul for an eternal one would require him to abandon every human instinct he possessed. Vlad chose the trade, a deliberate transactional event, a king becoming a monster, choosing hunger over natural death. The ritual required Vlad to kneel before a stone basin of blood while the tantric extracted energy from the earth. The process was designed to physically rewrite his circulatory system using supernatural energy. The physical results were immediate and violent. His veins blackened against his pale skin, and his eyes shifted to a deep crimson, signaling that his body no longer functioned on human biology. As the new creature stood, the temple itself began to collapse. The stones cracked and fell, as if the physical site could no longer support the weight of the unnatural act that had just occurred. The true cost of the ritual was psychological. By severing his connection to death, Vlad had also severed his capacity for human empathy, leaving behind a creature driven only by a predatory need to survive. For the next 500 years, the world moved on. While dynasties collapsed and technology advanced in the background, Vlad's existence remained a single, unchanging line, entirely disconnected from the passage of time. He stayed within the walls of Bran Castle, a fortress built on steep cliffs that matched his own isolation. It became the physical boundary of his long, static reign. He held absolute power over anyone who crossed his threshold, yet that power came with total loneliness. He was a king with no subjects, an immortal with nothing left to achieve. The eternal life he had purchased turned out to be a form of solitary confinement. By avoiding death, he had accidentally removed himself from the only world he ever wanted to rule. By 1890, the world had entered the Victorian era, and ancient fears were replaced by medicine, steam power, and recorded history. In a quiet library, Professor Van Helsing and a scholar named Elena began an investigation into local legends. They weren't looking for ghosts, they were looking for the historical records of a man who refused to die. Elena found proof in an ancient manuscript detailing the ritual and identifying the magical anchors that allowed Vlad to survive. It also contained instructions for neutralizing the curse, detailing how sacred energy and physical force could force the darkness back into the earth. As these investigators worked, the two figures Vlad had most successfully suppressed finally reappeared. Manthra broke her long meditation, and Mira arrived in Transylvania, carrying memories that had been dormant for half a millennium. Ending the curse required more than a weapon. It required this specific alignment of modern research, ancient magic, and the return of the humanity Vlad had traded away in 1425. The final battle in the catacombs was a direct collision. Manthra's light and the tantric's darkness fought for control over the castle's foundation. At the top of the tower, Mira confronted Vlad with his own history. Seeing the face of his past provided the moment of hesitation necessary for Van Helsing to move in. When the professor struck with the relic, the dark energy was finally purged. The supernatural link sustaining Vlad for centuries was severed instantly. Vlad's final reaction was one of release. Without the hunger of the curse driving him, He was able to stop fighting and finally accept the rest he had been avoiding since the 15th century. With the curse broken, the unnatural freeze on the Carpathian Valley finally thawed. The mountains were no longer bound to a single man's refusal to die, allowing the natural sequence of birth and decay to resume.